Its course has been the route of history's greatest conquerors. Its waters have nourished the cradle of civilizations and fed the world's greatest religion for millennia. It has been called the father of rivers. Witness the most fascinating and untold story of Sindhu, the river Indus. Come join us on an epic journey through 11,000 years of history, geography, and culture. Travel with us, 2,000 miles with mighty Indus.
Hello everyone, welcome to Drop. This is Hussain Nadim.
I'm Ayesha Noor.
India and Pakistan have fought a full-scale war just recently. Shots were fired, missiles were fired, there was a whole F-16 debacle as well. But you know what was the fascinating thing about the entire episode? It was not the war part, it's actually the peace part of the entire debacle. One of the best things of the war that came out was the fact that Pakistan and India have both continued with the Kartarpur Corridor. Very subtle, under the tables, both countries have actually been going forward with the peace process on the both sides of the border. Now, this is one of the most fascinating facets of this entire debacle. Ayesha, what do you want to comment on this issue?
I would say yes, both sides, countries, people on the both sides are very enthusiastic when it comes to friendship. People still want peace, people want to make things, you know, ease the tensions between both the countries.
Despite of the fact that the entire narrative on both sides coming out was essentially that we're celebrating war. We saw Indian celebrities talking about how amazing the Indian airstrikes was and all that. But still, I mean, you see that eventually the two governments have been talking. So is it only for the rhetorical purposes that Prime Minister Modi's government is actually pushing on the war agenda? Or do you think on ground, at the individual level, there is a lot more appetite for peace?
Hussain, I would 100% agree with the point that people want peace. Because I personally think I've had so many friends where I was studying, I had friends, Indian friends who were really, they were very passionate about India-Pakistan, friendship, ties, all the events that we have and like the commonalities that we share. So I believe that people still, they want peace somewhere, and the Kartarpur border, this sends a message of peace, because just recently I was reading an article where it was stated that India has offered 100 kilometers long bridge in between Dera Baba Nanak and the Kartarpur.
You know, that is very exciting to learn, and partly because you see, when we talk about the partition of this region, one of the main communities that suffered, and I'm not trying to belittle any other community, but the Sikh community on both sides of the border have been the first victims, because for them, Punjab is actually a holy land, similar to what it is for the Muslims, for us. how we see Makkah and Medina, for them Lahore, Amritsar and entire Punjab is actually exactly the same holy places. So for them to go through that entire partition, they were the first victims. But I'm very happy to actually realize and recognize this thing that the government on both sides have started to eventually undo what happened 70 years ago. And it's not about that we're undoing the partition. What is more important is how we are undoing the divide of the people.
Yes.
What do you think of that? With Kartarpur Corridor, do you think there will be more and more corridors opening all over Pakistan?
Definitely, Hussain, because I think the Punjabis on both sides, Indian Punjab and the our Punjab, I think we share so many cultural similarities that definitely people would want to, people want to know the culture that we have, and we want to know the culture that they have, and ultimately it's very similar. The way they talk, their language, the Punjabi, it's so similar. I was remembering that I had a friend in England who always used to ask me different words, and whenever I used to tell her that this is what we call water, this is the word we use for door, this is the word we use for so many things, and she would always say, oh, my grandmother was from Gujranwala, she always used to use this word, and she gave me that feeling of such that common feeling, the commonalities that we have, that I always...
That's not one case only. That's essentially true for all the expats, Pakistanis and Indians living abroad. There is a lot more unity than we can actually see on the surface. There's a lot more love underneath this entire debacle of war, the war rhetoric. I think on the ground, the people, like you have already mentioned, there is a lot more love that is out there. And I think Kartarpur Corridor is essentially the face of that love between India and Pakistan.
Definitely.
That's all for today, folks. Join us tomorrow for an episode on Game of Thrones. Something really interesting coming up tomorrow. Do watch us.
It has been worshipped as a god for thousands of years. Its course has been the route of history's greatest conquerors,